As you begin working through Chapter 1, you have a couple of options for following along. You can either download the superstore.csv file and then upload it using the menu over here on the left, or you can use the starter workbook package that I've provided in the files section under module overview. If you choose to use the starter workbook, it looks like this. It is organized to help you walk through the chapter and each of the examples and provides a little more structure and organization. So you can see some of the tabs already have pre-populated information so that you can work through, and some of them are empty and are here so that you can help rebuild the same graphic that is in the book for practice. Let's talk a little bit about how Tableau is structured. So our data set is already populated, and we have all of our dimensions here above this gray line and all of our measures for our data set below. Measures will be any values that are aggregated, so variables that could be summed, averaged, counted, that we could find the min or max for. And dimensions will be values that determine the level of detail at which we would aggregate our data. So in this tab, we have a view of region and sales fields from our Superstore dataset. The sales field is being used as the measure in this view because we're aggregating it as a sum, which you can see here. And the region field is going to be our dimension. There are 4 values for that particular field: central, east, south, and west. And basically it's in the function of this dimension in this view is to slice our data by region. If we were to remove the region slicer here, we would just see the total sum of all the sales, and it would look like this. So let's go ahead and put region back and restore our graph. The other thing to note here are that we need to distinguish between discrete and continuous fields. This will affect how Tableau is going to generate the visualization. Tableau gives a visual indication of the default value for a field over in the data pane and how it's being used based on the color that you see on the shelf. So discrete fields like region are blue, and continuous like sales will be green. A discrete field or a blue field will have values that are shown as distinct and separate from one another. So that makes sense when it comes to regions. We could reorder these east, central, south, west, and it wouldn't change the outcome of the graph. For continuous fields, these are values that flow from first to last as a continuum. So that would be a numeric field. A date field typically would be used as continuous fields in this view. And the values of those fields have an order that it would not make sense to change. Another thing to note on this view is that we have this marks pane over here. Tableau has automatically decided that we would use bars as our mark, but you can see that it's possible to change the mark from this selection. However, just be mindful of whether or not what you're selecting makes sense. So for example, if we change it to square, it basically almost creates more like a scatter plot using a box as the marker. So this graph doesn't really make sense for this selection. Typically, automatic is going to be the correct selection unless we're doing something more advanced. As you work through, you'll see that not only can we create a bar chart with one dimension, we can actually create deeper levels by adding a second dimension. So in this case, we have already used sales as the measure and the total sum, and then department. But we could also take region and add that in, and now we have a bar chart with 2 levels to it. It is also possible, rather than doing that, to take region and add another layer to our chart by pulling region over into color. Now we've created a stacked bar chart instead that breaks out the total sum by department, and then we can also see how much of those sales each region contributed to for that department. Continue to work through the chapter and follow along, practicing as you go, and then eventually you will get to this dashboard sheet and you will learn how to replicate a dashboard. And this is what you're going to be doing for your assignment. So it's important that you understand the concept of creating visuals in separate sheets, and then using a dashboard to display multiple pages at the same time, or multiple visualizations. So when you do this, you will be creating your own 3 visuals rather than the ones that are in the book. So play around with color, play around with chart types, feel free to experiment, and then pull your 3 visuals, and remember to save as PDF before you submit. Good luck.